Welcome back. Let's discuss election matters now. With less than 80 days to the 2023 general election, especially the presidential and National Assembly polls, doubts are being expressed as to the readiness of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for the exercise, particularly as it concerns the electronic transmission of results. Now, these doubts are even coming mostly from the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. National chairman of the party, Abdullahi Adamu, expressed the concern when a Commonwealth delegation for the 2023 elections to Nigeria visited him in Abuja, after which he insisted that INEC must assure the ruling party of its 100% readiness for the process. Suleiman Argungu, the APC National Organizing Secretary, also corroborated his chairman when he doubted the workability of the electronic transmission now due to network issues. In the midst of all of this, Mahmoud Yakubu, the INEC chairman, remains resolute by assuring Nigerians that there is no going back on the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, and the INEC results viewing portal for the conduct of the 2023 general elections. Meanwhile, the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, has also unveiled an election war room for tackling disinformation, misinformation, and the activities of bad actors ahead of the 2023 general elections in Nigeria, all in a bid to help the nation deliver free, fair, and credible elections. But then, let's not forget that INEC is currently facing some challenges as it relates to the attack on its offices. I mean, there's been quite a number of attacks now on INEC offices, with assailants now setting INEC offices on fire and burning some very sensitive materials there. Well, joining me to discuss all of this and more is Ezenwa, who is the chair, Partners for Electoral Reform. He's also a board member of Yaga Africa. He joins us from Abuja. Ezenwa, thank you very much for joining us on the program. First off, you look at this complaints coming, not just from the ruling party, but we've also heard this now from other people as well about the workability of the BVAS and the transmission of results electronically. You would think we've gone beyond that stage, but for you, do you have any doubts at all when INEC gives, especially we had the INEC chairman given every assurance that everything is on course and that Nigerians should rest assured that everything will work out well?
Well, thank you, DEJI, for having me. I think it's important to always understand that politicians are always about outcomes. They do not invest in process. And that lack of investment in process means that they do not always have to follow what shifts have taken place. And because they are vested in, if you permit the use of that word, dubious advantage most of the time, they are absent from conversations around reforms. So what is it that they are quarreling with? That we are infusing technology in the management and administration of election in a way that guarantees free, fair, credible, acceptable, and inclusive election, by ensuring that the legacy, the current legacy of this commission about returning power to the people is not reversed. And the only way not to do that is to continue to increase processes that enhance electoral integrity. And so the bimodal voter accreditation system, like you said, is important and is innovative in ensuring that the polling unit remains the place where people win or lose election. And the arguments that have been brought forward about internet connectivity and all of that signpost that ignorance that I prefaced my conversation with. For accreditation purposes, you do not need the internet. The internet is not important for accreditation purposes. It only becomes important in the transmission of results. And that transmission is a dual purpose vehicle because it does not negate the manual. Results are entered into Form E68 A at the polling unit level. And the new electoral law now empowers INEC to electronically transmit that result to collation. So that's why it's called BI, meaning two-way dual carriage process that enhances electoral integrity. So there is nothing, in my view, that the debate should be about. What has happened is that people have not come out from the fact that election is becoming more and more competitive. Ekiti and Osun, Ondo and Edo states have shown that, you know, if you like, that gradual incremental progress that we are making in enhancing electoral integrity. And I'm not sure that is going down well with many politicians.
Now, for you as a stakeholder, especially when it comes to election monitoring, because you have been in this job of election monitoring now for a long time, and of course your monitoring does not just begin with the election itself; it starts long before the election. From what you have seen, what do you say would be your concerns with the way INEC is preparing for the coming elections?
DEJI, my major concern will be the issue of funding for INEC. Recall that the Electoral Act has said that INEC should be, their funds for conduct of elections should be released 1 year to the election. INEC is not coming through to Nigerians as to whether those funds have been released. If the funds have been released, they have been affected by devaluation and the topsy-turvy monetary challenges that we are having in terms of inflation and the rest of them. So the budget that was placed last year to conduct this election would have tripled. So I am hoping that INEC will be transparent enough to share with Nigerians whether in truth these funds have been released, and if they are not in very precarious situation. If you have a situation in which these monies are not released on time, and vendors are not, and contractors are not, procurement issues are not settled quite on time, we will create emergencies. And when we create emergencies, discretion comes to play. And anytime you have discretionary activity, then corruption is near. So that is a big concern for me, that we need, all of us, the civil society and the media, needs to put the leg of INEC on the fire to come cleaner to us as to their own level of financial preparedness. To continue to capture our imagination that all is well. If you recall that 2011 we postponed elections, 2015 we postponed elections, 2019 we postponed elections. The concomitant effect of that in terms of cost of running election and even cost of those of us who are in observation, media deployment and the rest of that is enormous for the country. So that is one huge concern.
I'm just wondering if it's not too late to talk, if it's not too late now for us to be talking about that, I mean, to deal with that problem, because elections are just, less than 2 months away, if you like, or just about 2 months. So you wonder how that issue of funding, if there's one, how it can be resolved between now and then.
If we talk about it now, at least maybe we can salvage one or two things. It is worse if we get into a fire brigade situation. Like I said, once you have a fire brigade situation, then the electoral integrity is reduced, because at the end of the day, what will now matter is, like we say in our local parlance, let us have the election. Let's just have the election. So the threshold for integrity will be reduced when we create emergency and run into fire brigade situation. So I think that 2 months is not a bad time for all of us to begin to ask duty bearers to come clear to us about how the state of financial preparedness of INEC in terms of releases, because it's another thing to talk about funds is another thing to talk about, whether those funds have been released. And if they have not been released, they should whisper to people like DEJI so that you can amplify it for the world to know, and we are prepared. That's number one. Number two concern that I have is I know that the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security meets ritualistically. I know there's a meeting, but I've not seen, and I don't know if you have seen any national election security plan that we can interrogate. And this is against the background of the fact that recurring, arson and vandalization of INEC facilities, there seems not to be any response from anybody. You see the National Security Advisor, you see, Professor Mahmood warning politicians and all of that. But there is no accountability in terms of telling us what has happened to reports on the vandalization and touching of the Ondo INEC office. Nobody has come through to tell us what happened to that of Sokoto. So we have seen Ebonyi and Imo State after all these warnings. So for me, I think we need to see in clear terms what the plan is for security. I know that the police will always tell you that they are ready and that they are on top of the game, but what we have seen in the past should not give support to that kind of liturgy on the part of citizen groups and organizations not to make demand for this plan. And I think that is important. I am concerned also about inflammatory rhetorics of the politicians and the lack of interest in dealing with those issues that connect with the daily challenges that the Nigerian people face. And it is not really their fault, because citizen groups and organizations should have redirected this narrative long ago. And I think that the window for this long period of campaign is one in which we will not and should not be allowing politicians to be, banding these glossy manifestos that oftentimes are lifted from Google or from certain experts who are sitting somewhere and knocking these things together. I am thinking that NUT, Society of Engineers, Nigerian Medical Association, and other such organizations who have direct connection with the people can begin to reset the agenda and ask the politicians and their candidates to tick the boxes, and then in that process we can track. Because the disconnection between tracking at the end of the day is why people misbehave when in government. Because at the end of the day, these dances that we see in Kaduna, we see in Jos, and we see in other cities, and the crowd is a deception, because the same people who will go for PDP are the same people who are mobilized for Labour Party. They are the same people who are going for PDP. So, but in those rallies, it is about music, it's about comedy, it's about, there are no clear
So
issues,
you would say that the campaigns have largely not been issue-based?
So that's the point that I'm making. I am saying that citizen groups and organizations and moral and traditional authorities should rise to the occasion to redirect the conversation. Churches are holding conventions and politicians sneak into the place and they are giving front seats and they shout praise the Lord and all that and leave the place, and people say, oh, when he came there was a loud noise. But what did he say? Who is tracking? What did he say in such places? I think that those forums should become forums and platforms for engagement in terms of citizen demands. What are those things that we are demanding from you when you win election? The Nigerian Medical Association, National Association of Resident Doctors, and the National Association of Nurses and Midwives can have a town hall on state of health. They are the ones who can have a document about the state of tertiary and primary health systems condition in Nigeria. And they can then say, this is the state of teaching hospitals, this is the state. So we want to get away from medical tourism. What are you going to do? in their own meeting, not meeting where they are invited as guests by the politicians. So this is just a thought around how we can change the conversation for 2023. Otherwise, I've not seen any politician who says I will increase poverty, I will not build houses, I will not fund education. I've not seen. Yes. Everybody is going to tell you how they will fund education. And
that's what we've heard over and over and over again, right from 1999 anyway.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So if we are then depending, a lot of people are saying, no, let us have debates, let us have all of those things. I am saying citizen groups need to take the issue and make 2023 a citizen-centered conversation. Make it a citizen-centered conversation. Change the issue around campaigning in a way that you can force the politicians to stop this jamboree and razzmatazz that they are pulling around the country that makes absolutely no meaning. There are homes you go to, you see T-shirts of Labour Party, T-shirts of APC president, T-shirts of everybody is in different homes. So which means that it doesn't mean anything. You saw quarrels about money, people who came for their party function and they are quarreling that they were not giving pure water. What does that mean? If you are a member of that political party and you came for the function of your party, why should you be making demands of transport money and the rest of them? So those are the things that if we are able to reshape those things, then 2023 and beyond can become a place in which we can then engage these politicians. So that is a huge concern for me. I am also concerned about issue about logistics, perennial logistic challenges. We have maintained the same kind of vendor. The Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers, the Nigerian Road Transport Owners are the vendors who move election materials from one place to the other. I think that except for Osun and Ekiti, where we saw an infliction of traditional and moral authority that made them behave well, their attitude and what they did in Anambra does not lay credence that we should not change that model. We should be able to think out of the box around the issue about who takes this material from one point to the other. We can make it a state thing because it is about polling units from the rack center to the polling unit. We cannot be drawing all of that because of procurement issues from the center. We can devolve in a way that we can have efficient coordination of transport movement in those states without the challenge of a contractor. Now, when it gets to the driver, the money paid to the driver has already paled into insignificance and is already angry and he may not frustrate. So these are the basic things that come to mind for me that are of concern. But I do know that INEC will be having a thumb testing from what has come out from Ekiti and Osun and some of the elections that we talked about, but it's neither now nor there. Now you are going to have a national election, and then when you are using technology in the scale in which we are going to use it in 2022, there is need for caution, there is need for circumspection. Otherwise, if beavers failed, like we saw it fail for some time in Anambra, it can become a reason for a national uproar. And so we need to manage the expectations of our people in terms of the way we are propagating how technology is going to be infused in 2023. There are people who are already thinking that.
Let me quickly ask you this question. From what you have seen so far, all the pre-election processes you have seen from the side of the political parties and the politicians, do you get the impression that the coming election will be less monetized than the ones we've had in the past?
The truth of the matter is that when you took elections away from INEC and took it to the polling units, when I talked about the fact that people will now have to win an election from the polling unit, it means that the power will return to the people. So the same money that INEC officials were handing over to, politicians were handing over to some unscrupulous INEC officials to manipulate elections for them, they are now finding inroad into the polling unit, and that is what we call vote buying. and voter inducement. But there are measures that are being taken to see how we forestall that. One of the measures is the issue about secrecy, increasing the secrecy of the ballot. There is also the idea of not taking phones to the place. But the major issue is to sensitize security agents to be alive to their duty. If they are alive to their duty and they understand that they have responsibility to maintain law and order, they will curb it. But our general attitude and mindset towards election is that it is a bazaar, it's a festival. Both the security agencies and the voters themselves are indeed making demand in many places. It's not just the politicians offering. It is the people now who are asking that they should be giving money. So until we criminalize it, and the law has criminalized it, until we show a deterrent by prosecution of people who are arrested for both vote selling and vote buying, that will be 2023 will be such. And we have seen evidence. People are asking us, when in Abuja and when the parties had their conventions and there were rumors of dollars being shared, who has been arrested? Is it the small money that we are being given at the polling unit that you people are attacking? So because, and these are some of the things that reinforces the kind of citizen impunity that you also see at that level. So the primaries we are corruption reading in a way that we thought that when we saw EFCC in those in some of those fields, that we thought that people will be arrested, but no, as we speak, nobody is being prosecuted. So it's a mindset issue, it's a conversation that we need to keep having, that for our people, that if they understand what the PVC signifies, if they understand that the power that the PVC carries, they will not trade it as cheaply as that they are doing. Because one Saturday out of 4 years, 2 Saturdays out of 4 years, you are giving money that can become an inhibition to your progress, to your development, and to your general well-being for another 4 years. And I think that conversation is not as centralized as we should make it.
All right, Ezenwa Nwangu, I think we'll just have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for joining us on the program.
I appreciate it. Thank you very
much. Well, that's how much we can take on the program this week. We thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.